Somewhere in your parents' house there is a shelf, and on that shelf there is you, the trophy, the framed certificate, the photo where you're smiling exactly the way they liked. If you grew up as the favorite, you know that shelf. You know the story your mother still tells at dinner, the one where you won, the one you've heard 100 times, and you know the strange, heavy feeling that arrives while she tells it. You should feel proud. Instead, you feel watched. Everyone assumes being the golden child was the best seat in the house. The real answer is far stranger. Being the favorite was never a gift. It was a job. And tonight, you're going to see the contract you signed before you could read. Start with a question that sounds simple. Why does a family choose a favorite at all? It feels random. It isn't. In the 1950s, a psychiatrist named Bowen began studying families not as collections of individuals, but as single emotional units. One organism. And he noticed something unsettling. When a family carries anxiety, it cannot face that anxiety doesn't disappear. It gets assigned. Bowen called it the family projection process. The family's unspoken fears and unlived hopes get projected onto specific children, and each child receives a role. One child often becomes the container for everything wrong, the scapegoat, and another child becomes the container for everything the family needs to believe about itself, the proof, the evidence, the golden child. Notice what that means. The role was never about you. It was about them. A family under strain needs a walking argument that it is fine, that the parents are good parents, that the household works. You became that argument. Your report card wasn't a report card. It was a verdict on the whole family, read aloud once a term. Your victories were entered into evidence. Have you ever noticed how your successes seem to matter slightly too much? How a good grade could light up the entire house, and a bad one could darken it for days. That intensity was the tell. The reaction was too big because it was never only about you. Now go one layer deeper. A family therapist named Salvador Minuchin spent his career mapping the invisible walls inside families, the boundaries that separate one person's feelings from another's. In healthy families, those walls are firm but flexible. You are you. Your mother is your mother. Her disappointment is hers to carry. But in some families, Minuchin found, the walls dissolve. He called it enmeshment. And the golden child lives in the most enmeshed room of the house. Your wins were their wins. Your mood was monitored like weather. Your future was discussed in the first-person plural. We're thinking medicine. We did so well this year. Somewhere in that grammar, a small theft occurred. Your life stopped fully belonging to you. And here's the disturbing part. It didn't feel like theft. It felt like love. That confusion has a name. In the 1950s, the psychologist Carl Rogers described something he called conditions of worth. A child needs love the way it needs oxygen, and it will do anything to keep the supply flowing. So the child studies the parents like a scientist. What makes their faces open? What makes them close? Slowly, invisibly, the child learns the conditions. I am loved when I achieve. I am loved when I'm easy. I am loved when I make them look good. Rogers argued that the child then does something quietly devastating. It takes those conditions and installs them inside itself. The parents no longer need to enforce the rules. You enforce them. You became your own supervisor before you turned 10, and you've never fired him. Feel how early this happens, before opinions, before memory, almost. You didn't decide to become impressive. You calculated it, at an age when the calculation couldn't be seen, with the only currency a child has: yourself. If you've stayed under this spotlight with me this far, then some part of this is your story, and you're exactly who this channel exists for. Right now, there are 35 of us standing here in the light where things can finally be seen clearly, and before the next video, the one already waiting in the dark, I want that number to reach 52. Subscribe and take your place where no performance is required, because what happened next, in your case, is the part almost nobody talks about. What happens to a child who learns that love has conditions? The pediatrician and psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott watched this unfold in thousands of children, and his answer still unsettles psychologists today. The child splits. Not dramatically, quietly. Winnicott said every child has a spontaneous, genuine core, the true self, the part that wants things for no reason, hates things for no reason, plays, refuses, feels. But when the environment only rewards a certain performance, the child builds a second self to deliver it. A false self. Polished, reliable, impressive. The false self goes out and collects the trophies, and the true self does the only safe thing left. It goes silent. Here is what that silence sounds like 30 years later. Someone asks what you actually want, and your mind goes strangely blank. Not empty. Blank. You can tell them what would be smart, what would be respected, what would make sense. But wanted. Wanted is a language you were never allowed to practice. The golden child becomes an adult who can achieve anything and choose nothing. The psychoanalyst Alice Miller wrote an entire book about these children in 1979. She called it The Drama of the Gifted Child, and she chose the word gifted with bitter precision. Not gifted as in talented, gifted as in given away. Miller described children who developed an almost supernatural antenna for what their parents needed them to be and became it, brilliantly, completely. Everyone admired them. And underneath the admiration, Miller found the same discovery in patient after patient. A hollow place, a depression with no visible cause, because the child had performed a version of itself for so long that the original went missing. Admired by everyone, she wrote, and known by no one, least of all by themselves. And now you're ready for the twist. Because for years, psychology assumed the obvious. The scapegoat got the wound, the golden child got the crown. Then clinicians started noticing something backwards in their offices. The scapegoats came in, angry, hurt, but often clear. They knew something had been done to them. It had a shape. It could be named, grieved, fought. The golden children came in decades later, confused, successful, and quietly falling apart. Because how do you heal from a wound that everyone, including you, keeps calling a blessing? The scapegoat's cage was made of iron, and iron is at least honest. The golden child's cage was painted gold. And here is the cruelest mechanism of all. The golden child defends the cage, says the childhood was wonderful, says the parents meant well, says the pressure was just high standards. You cannot escape a prison you keep insisting is a palace. There's more, and it's uncomfortable. Remember Bowen's insight. The roles come as a set. If you were the golden child, someone else in your house was probably paying for it. The scapegoat sibling, the comparison child, and children aren't blind. Some part of you saw the difference, saw who got warmth and who got blame for the same behavior, saw it, benefited from it, and was powerless to stop it. That's the golden child's secret cargo, a guilt with no crime attached. You didn't choose the favoritism, you were a child, but guilt has never required a fair trial. It's why so many former golden children flinch at their own success, why they downplay wins, why the relationship with a brother or sister sits somewhere between love and an unpaid debt. If that sibling grew distant, cold, even hostile, understand what they were actually angry at, not you, the casting. Neither of you auditioned. So the golden child grows up, leaves the house, and discovers the strangest thing. The house comes along. The pedestal is portable now. The audience is everywhere. Watch yourself this week. Watch how a message left unanswered produces a flicker of dread, as if someone's approval is quietly expiring. Watch how you rehearse ordinary conversations. Watch how rest has to be earned, how a day of doing nothing feels less like peace and more like falling behind on a payment. Watch how criticism doesn't sting you the way it stings other people. It erases you. Because if your worth was always conditional, then every condition unmet is a small existential event. Other people fail at tasks. You fail at existing correctly. Do you hear the difference? and notice where you live now. An entire civilization built on shelves, metrics under every photo, applause counted in real time. The modern world didn't invent the golden child. It industrialized the role and then offered it to everyone, which means you, of all people, recognize the machinery. You've been performing for an audience since before you could spell. You just never got to log off. So what does the way out actually look like? Not like burning your achievements, not like blaming two people who were, most likely, running the same program their own parents installed. Bowen understood this better than anyone. These patterns are multi-generational. Your parents projected onto you what was once projected onto them. The anxiety is older than everyone in the room. Seeing that isn't excusing, it's just accurate. And accuracy is where the exit begins. The real work is smaller than you'd expect, and harder. Winnicott believed the true self never dies. It waits. It survives in the trivial preferences you never monetized. The music you like for no defensible reason. The hobby you hide because it isn't impressive. The opinion you hold and don't post. Healing for a golden child isn't another achievement. It's the opposite. It's practicing tiny, deliberate acts of disappointment. Saying no to something small and surviving the silence that follows. Letting a call go unreturned for a day. Doing one thing this week that is completely uselessly yours and telling no one, no audience, no shelf. Each time the world doesn't end, a piece of the contract dissolves. You are teaching your nervous system, one unremarkable moment at a time, the sentence it never got to learn. I am still loved when I am not performing. It won't feel good at first. It will feel like danger. That's not a sign you're doing it wrong. That's the sound of a very old alarm system, built by a child, finally being questioned by an adult. So go back one last time to your parents' house, to the shelf. Look at the trophy, the certificate, the photo with the practiced smile. You've believed your whole life that the child they treasured is up there. But look closer. That shelf never held you. It held a performance of you, polished and framed and endlessly retold. The you that wanted things for no reason, refused things for no reason, felt things without checking the room first. That child was never on the shelf. That child was standing in the doorway the entire time, waiting to be noticed. And the only person who can finally turn around and see them is you. The spotlight is dimming now, and for once, nothing is required of you. No bow, no encore. Just walk off stage with me. If this one found the child in the doorway, leave a like and subscribe before you go, so the light stays on between us and we don't lose each other in the dark of the algorithm. I'll be here when the next curtain rises.